But here's three things that keeps Africa enslaved to the Chinese and the white man by virtue of their politicians.
Africa Connect News is your #1 news. We use credible sources, official statements, and verified online content for educational, analytical, and informational use. Accuracy is not guaranteed. Viewers should verify independently. We do not promote hate, violence, misinformation, or political unrest. Our aim is to offer context-rich insights, amplify local voices, and support informed dialogue in Africa and beyond. Viewer discretion advised.
But here's three things that keeps Africa enslaved to the Chinese and the white man by virtue of their politicians. Number one, we have been distracted in America, the Caribbean, Africa, all over the world. It's a Pan-African problem. We have been distracted from development with democracy. Everybody's focusing on who to vote for. You're not looking at the conditions. What's going to change whether he wins or he wins? Because guess who's financing both of them? The same people stealing your oil. Who's financing both of them? The same people stealing your gold. Who's financing both of them? The same people stealing your coltan. You follow me? So democracy is a joke they play on black people to make you think you can have radical transformation without revolution. The reason the white man pushes democracy globally so hard is if there's ever a breakdown in the black man's confidence in democracy, the only alternative is revolution. So that's number one. Democracy is a distraction from development. Number two, when I travel, especially Africa, but it's true in the Caribbean also, black people are more concerned with their tribe being in control than they are with liberation from foreign control. Are you following me? I've seen it. So when the elections is coming up, it's not about freeing us from white supremacy or Chinese imperialism. It's about, are my people going to be the president? Is somebody from my tribe going to be the prime minister? And because they're more concerned about tribal imperialism than African independence, this democratic scheme that they run on black people continues because we're so petty and so small in our thinking. I just want to make sure his people don't get the presidency. I'm not even looking at the bigger picture. The white man knows this. The Chinese know this. So they come in, exploit, finance both sides. So no matter who wins, they get all the resources. And then the third issue is most African leaders and Caribbean are foreign educated. They go to Britain for their education. They go to France for their education. They go to Belgium. They come to America for their education. And what did Dr. Carter G. Woodson say in Miseducation of the Negro? The college-educated Negro is seldom of any use to his race because the education he gets is an education that takes him away from identification with his people. So most of our African and Caribbean and American leaders are Negropean. They have an African body. They have a European mind. So the white man and the yellow man are controlling the black man through remote control by virtue of conscious control of the way that he thinks. The entire thought process of the African leader, there's a few exceptions, but for most of them and the Caribbean, the entire thought process is that of a white man.
Dr. Umar Johnson, a controversial yet influential Pan-African activist and psychologist, has issued a stark warning to African nations regarding what he calls the Great Deception of Western-style democracy. During a recent lecture series in Lagos, Dr. Johnson argued that democracy in Africa is often a facade for continued Western economic and political control. Democracy, as it's been packaged and sold to Africa, is not the democracy of the people, Dr. Johnson declared to a packed auditorium. It's a tool of neocolonialism, an illusion designed to keep Africans divided, distracted, and dependent on the same Western powers that once colonized them. Dr. Johnson contended that many African nations have been manipulated into adopting democratic systems that do little to address their unique cultural, historical, and economic contexts. He pointed to frequent elections marred by corruption, foreign interference, and voter suppression as evidence that democracy has failed to deliver true freedom or prosperity. Every 4 or 5 years, they give you a choice between two sides of the same coin, he said. But behind that coin is the same colonial bank, Western corporations, Western banks, and Western governments that control your resources, your media, and your minds. The roots of division. According to Dr. Johnson, Western-style democracy has also deepened ethnic and religious divisions, pitting Africans against one another for political gain. Democracy becomes a tribal contest, one group vying for power over another. Meanwhile, the real beneficiaries are the multinational corporations that thrive on Africa's resources, he argued. He called on African leaders and citizens to rethink their political structures and embrace indigenous models of governance that prioritize unity, self-determination, and economic independence. Reactions and criticisms. While Dr. Johnson's speech drew applause from many in attendance, critics argue that his message oversimplifies the complexities of governance in modern Africa. Some scholars point out that, despite its flaws, democracy has provided avenues for accountability and civil society engagement that were absent under one-party or military rule. Democracy in Africa is far from perfect, said Dr. Nneka Okoro, a political scientist at the University of Ibadan. But it's not simply a colonial tool. Africans themselves have shaped and reshaped democracy in ways that reflect their own aspirations. Nonetheless, Dr. Johnson remains resolute in his call for an African-centered political revolution, one that reclaims sovereignty from external powers and rebuilds governance from the ground up. The time has come, he concluded, for Africa to stop playing by Europe's rules and to start writing our own. During a recent speech at the Pan-African Leadership Conference in Lagos, Nigeria, Dr. Johnson argued that African democracy, as currently practiced, is a European export that fails to address the unique socio-political realities and historical experiences of African nations. According to Dr. Johnson, Western-style democratic systems often serve as a façade for neocolonial interests, hindering genuine self-determination and empowerment for African peoples. What we're seeing in Africa is not democracy. It's a colonial arrangement with black faces in charge, Dr. Johnson declared. The electoral systems are imported and imposed. They are not rooted in the cultural, spiritual, and communal traditions of African societies. As a result, these systems often produce puppet leaders who serve the interests of Western powers rather than their own people. Dr. Johnson emphasized the importance of developing indigenous governance structures that reflect traditional African values and principles. He pointed to pre-colonial African societies where decision-making was often consensus-based and community-centered, arguing that such models could offer more authentic pathways to self-governance and sustainable development. Before the Berlin Conference, Africans had governance systems that worked, he explained. Kings, councils of elders, and communal assemblies, these were not just ceremonial roles, they were functional systems of accountability and representation. Why should we discard our own heritage in favor of something that was never meant for us? The psychologist also criticized the role of international financial institutions and foreign governments in shaping African political agendas. The IMF, World Bank, and Western governments continue to dictate African policies through conditionalities and aid packages, Dr. Johnson said. They use democracy as a cover for economic exploitation. Until Africa breaks free from this cycle, we will remain politically and economically dependent. Reactions to Dr. Johnson's remarks have been mixed. Some African intellectuals and activists welcomed his critique as a much-needed wake-up call, while others argued that despite its flaws, democracy remains the most viable means of ensuring political accountability and human rights on the continent. Political analyst Dr. Amina Fofana commented, Dr. Johnson raises important points about the historical roots of African governance. However, we must also recognize that democracy, in its various forms, offers opportunities for participation and protection of rights that authoritarian systems often do not. As debates continue to swirl around the future of African governance, Dr. Umar Johnson's remarks have reignited discussions about decolonizing political systems and forging new, Africa-centered pathways to self-determination.
That's all for now on Africa Connect News. Thank you for staying informed with us. For more updates, context-rich insights, and authentic African perspectives, don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe. Until next time, stay connected, stay informed, and above all, stay proudly African. This is Africa Connect News.